Call the March 22nd, 2018 regular meeting of the Caddo Parish Commission to order. At this time, Mr. Clerk, can we have the roll call?
Dominic, Johnson,
Present.
Jackson, Lynn, Bowen,
Present.
Cawthorn,
Present.
Gage Watts,
Present.
Middleton, Atkins, Chavez, Smith, Lewis Johnson.
Present.
Thank
We
you,
have
thank
quorum,
you.
sir.
We'll have the invocation by Reverend Calvin Jones. If everybody,
Austin.
why did I say that? Reverend Calvin Austin. And then we'll have the pledge by Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn.
I know all of us want to be Jones, but today I'm going to be Austin. Let us bow. Father, we come today to gather in this place of government and to discuss the matters concerning the parish of Caddo. We ask your Father to be with these individuals as they think and make wise decisions concerning the citizenry of this area. Be with us now in this meeting, and we pray, Father, that everything that will be done decent and in order. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
All right, let's go stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we present our natural pursuits. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everybody can have a seat. Again, I'd like to, first of all, welcome everybody here, especially our residents and citizens who've come out today to watch democracy in action, I guess is the best way to say that. And I will turn it back to Mr. Clerk. Our next item, please.
Next, we move to agenda additions.
Okay, I have one addition by Commissioner Matthew Lynn, if I'm correct.
I'd like to add the addition that's in front of y'all. It is just the first part of it is a resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana Office of Juvenile Justice to give favorable consideration to the application of L.L. Brandon III transitional home and otherwise providing with respect thereto. And all of you have a complete version of this in front of you. This was formulated with the advice of Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, with the advice of Commissioner President Doug Dominic, Clay Walker, and with legal.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Matthew Lynn. Do I have a second to that
Second.
motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to expand and add to the agenda the resolution that Commissioner Lynn had just spoken about. Under Louisiana law, I have to state, is there anybody here who wishes, at this time we'll have a public hearing to add and expand the agenda. Is anybody here that wishes to speak in favor of adding and expanding the addition to include this resolution? If so, come forward. And now, if there's anybody who wishes to speak against adding this and expanding the agenda to include this item, if you will come forward. I declare this little public hearing closed. We need to vote to expand our agenda, and it is required 100% approval by all commissioners, so please vote. Yeah, you can vote on no on that one, could you?
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Okay, that has been added to the agenda, and we're coming back to citizens' comments.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, that one will be, resolution 21 will be added under resolutions.
Just don't let me get over it before we get out of here, because, I'll get to rocking and rolling.
Yes, sir, we move to citizen comments now.
Okay. Citizen comments. Citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning, please fill out a comment card at this time located in the chamber foyer and return it to myself or the clerk of the commission. Individual comments are limited 3 minutes. Right now, I have 2 cards. If anybody else wishes to speak publicly, they need to fill out a card. The first one I have is Mr. Bill Weiner. Is that right? Mr. Weiner, come on up. If y'all can give it to Michelle Nations right here. Miss Nations, or our clerk, please. Good afternoon.
Thank you. I'm Bill Weiner, number 2 Longleaf Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm here because I was sitting in on the committee meeting on long-term planning. My background is in planning and architecture, and there was no ability to comment in there. So I'm here to talk about several things. I see Shreveport, which is the economic driver for the parish. The future is dismal. There are more houses for sale, upper end and lower end. People are moving out of town. I've had 3 professors from 2 colleges come to me and say they're moving out of town as soon as they can get another job somewhere else. I was copying some material to present to public body, and a person saw it on the computer, and it's a very prominent family in town. I'm not going to use their name. They're moving. So the trend is downward. You cannot solve problems until you can identify the problem. So, and I want to talk about the MPC. That is the one facility that looks over longer term, intergenerational, not just the term of your elected office, to control what happens to our boundaries. And the MPC's boundaries should be expanded to the whole parish. You can have your 5-mile zone within it, but any undertaking in the parish should go through the MPC for review. If they're doing it right, it'll speed right through, but if they're trying to push the boundaries a little bit, it will delay them. And so to control what our future's going to be, we need to have the MPC independent, because in the past the city has put pressure on them to change their position or they won't get funded. So you could take the millage from the city and the parish, put it together through the legislature, make them independent, expand the boundaries, and they can make real decisions. Some of them will be just a written report to you to say, this undertaking will have the future effect in 20 years on what might be a road through here, or school, or our water supply, another lake, whatever. But that's what planning is. It's about looking at the future to say where we want to go, how we're going to get there, and to be careful not to do something that gets in the way of what we want to be in the future. So thank you. Please consider staying with the MPC, expanding the MPC for the whole parish, and get the funding independent through the legislatures so they can do their job. And also, people serving on the MPC board should have qualifications as to experience and education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiner.
Thank you.
James Gavin, Mr. James Gavin. Mr. Gavin, we would like to thank you for being here today. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. President.
You're very welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm James Gavin. I live in Caddo Parish. I'm right now chairman of the board, Caddo Sewer District Number 2. When you appointed me to the board in 2014, the Sewer District 2 was a disaster. Since that time, we've made vast improvements. We've improved our collection facilities, we've upgraded our system, we've stopped overflows, we've paid off our debt, we've got money in the bank. All of this couldn't have been done without a well-functioning board. Usually, when you appoint someone to a board, that's the last you hear about them until their term expires or you have to replace them for some other reason. We have to work together, the board, to get things done. In November of 2017, we had a board member die, which created a position. At that time, I submitted 2 names and resumes to Commissioner Johnson. In January, I asked Commissioner Johnson if he had made an appointment. He told me he was deferring any appointments until March of 2018. I asked him if we could discuss this before he made a decision. He agreed. Since that time, I know he's been very busy. He's been very, very difficult to communicate with. Although I've not heard anything, I happened to notice on your agenda for Monday, after your meeting that a Mr. Craig Watson's name had been submitted. Reason, I don't know. Mr. Watson could be a perfect board member. He could be a disaster. I don't know. The reason I'm here today is to ask you, before you make the appointment, just give us a chance to vet them in. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have a couple other here. Mr. Hall, W.C. Hall. Now, you're not here to talk about a zoning issue, are you?
I'm here to talk about a water and sewer district.
Come on up. Mr. Hall, I'd like to welcome you here today, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I am W.C. Hall, 5617 Brandon Road, 71107. And I've been here, let's see, I think 4 times now, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And they want to add some more houses to the Pine Hill Trailer Park. They said last year that they had the sewage problem cured.
Hang on, is this a zoning issue, Mr. Hopkins?
You're talking about the Alpine?
Alpine, yes,
Sir, that's a zoning issue coming up later
later today.
Yeah, Mr. Hall, we're going to come up to that issue, and we'll have a public hearing at that time, and that will be the time that you need to speak on that.
That'll be today.
Yes, sir. About, I can't tell you, maybe 30 minutes, an hour, but
Okay.
the procedures are you need to speak at that
Okay.
when that
Okay.
zoning
All
ordinance
right.
comes up.
And she's on the same thing.
You on the same thing? That's what we thought, okay? So be sure, and because I have a lot going on, I will call for a public hearing for the ordinance, and we'll read it, and at that time you can come speak in favor or against it, okay?
Thank you.
All right, can y'all take these? All right, moving on to our next item, Mr. Clerk. Todd,
I'm sorry.
you're all right.
Next we move to visitors. Juvenile Judge Paul Young.
And good afternoon, Judge Young. Thank you for coming here today. Appreciate you taking out the time. And I just wanted to say, before you get started, we see Judge David Matlock, who is your chief judge, is with you, and our newest judge, who we're so proud to have, Judge Reed Casey Jones. Thank y'all for being here today.
You're welcome. I am Judge Paul Young, one of the 3 judges at the Caddo Parish Juvenile Court. Myself and Judge Casey Jones, and to somewhat a lesser extent Judge Matlock, are elected officials responsible for determining, among other things, who comes into the Caddo Parish Juvenile Detention Center and who doesn't, and how long they stay within the bounds of the law. As part of that function, we have to do planning. We have to be aware of the laws as they're passed by the legislature, and we became aware of the fact that under a raise the age statute, Louisiana joined 42 other states in this nation, raising the juvenile jurisdiction from age 16 through 17. So anyone under the age of 18 that commits an offense is brought before the juvenile court. This is a good law. It makes good sense, but I'm not a policy maker at this point. We enforce the law. And so when these 17-year-olds are due to come into the juvenile court jurisdiction, July 1st of this year, for nonviolent offenders, we have to be prepared at the detention center to accept them. So we studied how many there were going to be, and we're informed that at any one time there are 18 to 25 17-year-olds in the custody of the sheriff in the adult system right now. Those 17-year-olds are not going to disappear July 1st. They will show up gradually at first in our detention center. We have to be prepared to accept them or reject them based on their individual merit. Right now, we have a 24-bed juvenile detention center. It is the smallest in the South, not per capita, the smallest. We have cities half our size with twice the number of juvenile detention beds. That is tolerable only because this commission has funded the best juvenile justice system in the state. We have electronic monitors, we have excellent probation staff that supervise kids before and after they're in detention, sometimes as an alternative to being in detention. That is essential. And frankly, we have judges that know, to some good extent, I hope, who needs to be in detention and who doesn't. I don't think we over-incarcerate, in other words. But as a result of that, we're limping along with the smallest juvenile detention center in the South. With the addition of the 17-year-olds, I dare say we can cut that number from 18 to 25, we can cut that down to probably 15 with better decision-making about who needs to be in detention and who doesn't. But there's still going to be 15, and they are not disappearing July 1st. It was my duty as an elected official responsible for this area to bring that to the attention of the commission, as we have done over the past year and a half, and to the attention of the public, because I was not going to be asked the question come July 1st or thereafter, Judge Young, why didn't you tell us? I've told you. Judge Casey Jones and I and Judge Matlock I believe, that we need to expand the Juvenile Detention Center. We obviously don't decide how that is done. That's y'all's call. Some have called this an unfunded mandate from the state. Well, first of all, it's a good law. And number two, public safety is a local responsibility. It's not the state's responsibility to finance the Caddo Parish Juvenile Detention Center. Respectfully submit. So it's in y'all's lap. It's in our lap as citizens. And I felt duty-bound to bring this to your attention. Now, there are alternatives to this. We can do nothing, and the judges will be faced with the even more difficult decision about who to accept and who to release. Right now, that decision is difficult enough. But we will make that decision. We will make those hard decisions if nothing is done. But as I've outlined in some letters and some information to the public will not like the decisions we make many times, because we will have to release offenders that the police think need to be in detention, that you would think need to be in detention, in fact, that I think need to be in detention. But we simply won't have the space unless something is done. I know the commission has gone to the public on numerous occasions in the past with efforts to rededicate, an effort to pass a juvenile justice increase in tax revenue, and it's been rejected. I understand that. I think now we have a very specific, measurable objective that liberals and conservatives, people that were willing to pay tax and perhaps people that are unwilling to pay tax, would recognize the need. Public safety. It is our fundamental function as elected officials. I think most people will see that. Now, other people will have different ideas about how to accomplish that. Obviously, some will say, well, you got to find the resources in-house, which you've already collected. Some would say, yes, I'll support an increase in the 1957 millage. That's not my call, of course. I know that. That's y'all's call. But something does need to be done. I'd invite Judge Casey Jones to come up with any comments she has.
Good afternoon. Judge Young has provided you all factual and statistical information regarding our need at juvenile court at the Juvenile Detention Center. I will ask that you all consider this seriously, also as citizens of Caddo Parish, what we need and what we're faced with and what we really should not have to decide as judges as far as who has to stay and who has to leave based on space. Okay, it's a safety concern for our citizens. It's a safety concern for all of us that we serve every day. Okay, I don't know if there is some type of panel or something that can be done to give you all more information as far as what we do every day and exactly what is needed, and to show you that there is an issue there. And if nothing is done at all, there's going to be an even bigger issue come July 1st. So I ask that you all seriously consider this issue and whatever can be done. We asked for more space. That's definitely what we need. We're working off a 1957 millage in 2018, okay, which is completely a different time, completely different. Several years later, we need your help, and we need you to seriously consider what needs to be done at Caddo Juvenile Court. Thank you.
Is that all?
Any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things. First of all, and the most important thing I think we need to all understand, I think we can clearly agree with this, is that we're in this together. You know, you as judges, myself, us commissioners, our administration, our staff, Clay Walker and his team, and the citizens of Caddo Parish are in this together. And we need to continue to work hard to do the best job that we can to try to fix this problem and live within the means that we can. We all understand, I think all the commissioners understand, I don't know if the public understands, that the Juvenile Detention Center, when it was initially built, we had 48 beds, but the Office of, I guess, Juvenile Justice or Department of Justice indicated that we couldn't house 2 of the children in each bed, and it reduced to 24. So we have 3 pods with 8, and then you also get into the issue, I think we have girls in one pod and the others boys. So there are a lot of issues. We understand that we really would like to have a new detention center. We would like to expand this center. And we've been looking at this for a couple years, and I don't think anybody, in your letter, you indicated a couple of things, that your plea has not been accepted, and we've been unwilling or seriously to discuss these items, but we've been discussing these items for 2 years now, and based upon a recommendation that the staff looked at, the juvenile committee at that time made a recommendation to go with our staff's recommendation, which was what was passed in the budget: more monitors, more security guards, I think more probation officers. And even talking to Dr. Wilson and Ms. Bryant and things of that nature, we still do not know the full extent of how this is going to come about. And we need to probably, and I think right now, is continue to try to work with what we have. The citizens, again, what you said. And, the other day when we had our meeting at luncheon, and we had a very good meeting, and it was consistently said, that we've gone out 5 times. 3 were for property taxes. I have the years written down, but I think the last one was in 2006. 2 of them were for increase in sales taxes to better fund our juvenile justice system. And the citizens have consistently said no. They passed that down, or failed to pass that. I mean, in April we had a 2017 part of the thing that was on ballot was the renewal, and that got voted down. In November, we're looking at a renewal on our parks and recreation, and a lot of us have concerns about that, whether that's going to pass. It's to even get a renewal passed.
Well, if I may, as
Sure.
I suggested in my comments, a more targeted message, frankly, a crisis message might help. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another option that's been floated is appointing a panel of people, not friends of the commissioners, not my friends, but rather people that have been fairly vocal about not supporting taxes, and inviting them, in effect, to look at the books.
Right.
And if you can find the $3 to $4 million that's necessary to run the enlarged juvenile detention center, because I believe everybody agrees we have the capital funds to build the enlargement, and let that group look at the books. And if they can come up with the money in a way that y'all agree with, fantastic. But most likely they can't, and then that presents to the public the clear choice: are you going to fund an enlargement of the detention center, or are you going to sacrifice public safety?
Yeah.
I don't see an option.
Right. And again, I just simply say we on this commission body and the Juvenile Justice Committee have consistently done what we could do to work with you guys. I'm not going to go into details, but
Sure.
recently, the social worker, the adding of Judge Stromile, but we're facing issues, and we all realize that out of every one of our departments and our obligations and duties, whether it's public works, we have a tax that supports that. Caddo Parish Animal and Service Control tax supports that. But the juvenile justice system, that 1957, is that what you were saying?
Right.
1957 tax, we had one judge, probably one assistant DA, and one probation officer and a court reporter. Now we have 3 judges, Judge Stromile, you got hearing officers, Ted does hearing stuff, and the things y'all do is expanding so much more enormously, and we're working under a 1957 budget tax. We understand that, and it's very, very difficult. So we're looking at this, and hopefully try to work something out, continue to work it. I think that one of the main things that you said when we were talking in our meeting is we need to let the public know. We need to let the public know. And I think that's been done. I think your letter
think
to
so.
the Times, Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, who's been on top of this with everything that she could, and myself, response has tried to do that. Today, you know, there was an article in the KTBS. Hopefully the people are at least hearing this. Haven't got any phone calls. No one's called me and said, oh, you know, y'all better go expand that jail.
I made a couple of phone calls and they didn't even call me back, so I understand that.
I understand. But, you know, some of us have a hard time, you know, bringing a tax increase, especially when we're trying to get this renewal done. So
Understand.
Judge Young, you know, I don't know, we got some other commissioners on board that would like to say some things. I know that Commissioner Matthew Lynn has a program I'm sure he's going to want to talk about at some point, that we're going to have a resolution to hopefully go forward with the issue concerning with Bishop Brandon's house. Hopefully will help some of those issues. So next commissioner is Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Judge Young, Judge Casey, and Judge Matlock. I'll get to the issue of the letter first, because that letter kind of caught me by surprise. And, you know, just to kind of clear up the air, we all met over at Another Broken Egg last year, and what we discussed was, we talked about trauma-based NGOs. The issue or the urgency of the juvenile jail did not come up, and had that came up, maybe we could have been having this conversation then as opposed to now, because I don't ever want individuals to think that we're ignoring an issue that a sitting judge is saying is a problem. And so I apologize if I didn't ask more questions at that time or something, but I always thought that it was that meeting that we had was centered around trauma-focused intervention and how do we stop people from coming into the jail or even getting into the incarceration cycle. And so that's kind of where my politics and my philosophy starts with regard to this issue.
As President Dominic mentioned, there are a large number of issues when you talk about juvenile justice, just unlimited practically.
Sure.
And as I said before, this commission has dealt very liberally with us in helping to develop programs and be the best system in the state. I agree with that. This is that isolated problem come to a crisis now because of a statute that's passed in a reform that has been discussed, but still, you know, a few months before the deadline, still not addressed.
Well, and I think you get...
And so that was the need I had to bring it to the attention.
Well, I think you helped me get to my next point. I know Commissioner Lyndon Johnson and I often talk about it, and I know we've mentioned it in passing to Dr. Wilson, is the need for the commission to have an active lobbyist down in Baton Rouge as the session is going on. And there may be some differences of opinion on that. But we sent that letter. And Randy, I don't know if y'all have a copy, if y'all could share the letter that was sent to the governor. I don't know if y'all shared that with the judges, but if we could get that letter back out to the commissioners.
Yeah, I'm sure y'all are aware of that.
As well as get the letter to the judges. I don't know if y'all had a chance to see that letter asking the governor to delay implementation of this. So we did send that letter to him, and when I saw him around Christmas time, his message was simply, and he came up to Shreveport as well for a meeting over at Safety Town, his message was, raise the age, it's going to happen. And so, you know, I think he is sort of hard pressed to see the 17-year-old lead the adult system to be able to say that we're reducing overall incarceration. But what we were not intending to do was reduce adult incarceration at the expense of increasing juvenile incarceration. I don't think that was we have one of the lowest recidivism rate in the country, and we want to keep it that way. And I think you said it earlier, they deserve to be in, this is smart policy, they deserve to be in our system.
We'll do a better job.
Yeah.
We'll do a better job.
I want to encourage us to also look at the alternatives. I know Bishop Brandon's facility has some security issues, but we still have that Keithville facility that's out there. Maybe that can be some sort of temporary fix. I don't know what standard, what condition, Randy. I don't see Kelvin. I don't know what condition that's in.
Yeah, I think we've already looked at that, if I
Oh,
remember
okay.
correctly, and it just
Gotcha.
won't meet the standard. But we do need to keep looking at stuff.
Right,
so.
we still need to continue to look at alternatives to building. We have not built a public school in Caddo Parish, I think, in well over 50 years. And to build another jail, I know my citizens just will not, the folks that I represent, the constituents that I represent, I don't necessarily know that they're going to be happy that we're building jails and not schools and things like that. Okay, and so I want to make sure, that we continue our focus and looking at alternatives, looking on the front end, and you guys have been, what you do and with Clay, working with Clay and our probation and parole, y'all have done a yeoman's job with what you have. The millage just doesn't support what you're trying to do. I think you're going to get some additional responsibilities with child support. I like for folks to hear more about the good support program that you have, working with fathers, getting them back active in their children's lives and getting skill sets. So there's a lot of things that you're doing great, and I don't want the narrative to lead out of here because I believe I saw a headline that said Caddo in crisis. This is a singular issue that I think if we get a little bit more time, I think if we all have a little bit more time, things could be better. But that if we continue to work toward a solution, we will find some sort of, we'll come to agreement to some sort of solution.
If I may, just one moment. If I may, Mr. Jackson, Commissioner Jackson, I want to make sure that we're clear that we're not increasing juveniles being locked up in detention, okay? The numbers are already there. This is what's coming to us come July 1st. We want to make sure that the public understands we're not trying to increase incarceration, reduce it with adults and increase it with juveniles. We're not doing that. And this is something that's beyond the control of the judges. We're here to enforce the law only, okay? We're not policymakers, okay? So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that that's not what we're trying to do.
Well,
Definitely,
I'm not saying that's
and
what-
I know you're
Right.
not, but I just want to make sure that we're clear as far as the public is concerned, because definitely these two delinquency judges here, we definitely are not in the business of locking up our children
Right.
and forgetting about
But
them.
if-
We want to make sure that we continue with all these great programs like good support and the other programs that we have, trauma-focused programs that we have at juvenile court, and things that we do to focus on family and keeping the families together. But we do have an issue, and we do have children, unfortunately, who do offend. And for that reason, we have to make sure that they're in secure placement.
Right,
So,
and my issue is if we build out a facility for an extra 50 beds or 20 or 40 beds, it's gonna be filled. It's gonna be filled. And it always starts out where it's a public safety thing, but if we build something, I remember the very first meeting I met with, I think it was Dr. Wilson, with the group that he meets with quarterly, and there was an issue about the court cost fund or some witness fund being down. And then I looked over to Dr. Wilson, I said, well, what fund's that? And they said, well, if people aren't going to court, nobody can pay into it. And so it was sort of a complaint saying, well, we might have to lay people off because, and so that's my concern, is that if we build it, it'll end up being filled. And so, you know, like I said, I think we're all working on the same team, and I want to make sure that we continue to work on the same team. And, you know, I'll double my efforts to reach out to folks in Baton Rouge. I think everybody up here will double their efforts to reach out to the folks in Baton Rouge to see if we can get some sort of delay or relief from Baton Rouge on this issue. But definitely want to thank y'all for everything that you're doing and helping us with this.
First, I want to say that I'm extremely grateful for the leadership that Judge Young has demonstrated on this particular issue. It is timely and it is appropriate. Commissioner Jackson, you said you apologized. You have nothing to apologize for. And in our meeting, we talked about several things. We have a lot of meetings. We meet with a lot of commissioners. We meet with a lot of folks, leaders like yourselves. And we don't address every topic in every meeting. You have nothing to apologize for. We have nothing to apologize for on this issue. Colonel Cox and I, over the years, and me before he was here, have come to y'all twice before with plans, with actual construction plans for detention expansion, 2 times over the years. And those are still, we still have copies of those. You know, some of the blow-ups are still there. The facility was built to hold 29 children. That included 2 suicide watch cells. That's what it was built for. We had more children in there at various times, 44 up to 52. It was not desirable to have children sleeping on the floor, double bunked, literally on the floor on mattresses, double bunked in the cells, or ganged up on mattresses in the gymnasium. Now, when we had Hurricane Katrina, we do things on an emergency basis. That's not a long-term solution, and that's why we were coming to y'all with those expansion plans. And y'all went to the public, and we went to the public with requests for that. This is a special issue. The licensing is what, when the state imposed licensing restrictions, bringing it down to a 24-bed facility, we no longer had some of those other options, and frankly, those are not good options. And frankly, delay is not really the solution on imposing that. And those are policy decisions. I'm not trying to impose that. But this, having 17-year-olds dealt with in the juvenile system is not a bad thing. And if it's delayed, it probably will never happen. Not during certainly my professional lifetime. And so be careful what you ask for is all I would say in that regard. I'm not trying for us to get into the legislative or policy areas that y'all have, but I would caution you to be careful.
I mean, either we're going to do it or we're not. I mean, at some point, either
We
we're going
are.
to lay it or we're going to hit
And it
it.
needs to be laid before the public.
Right.
Their choices need to be
Right.
clear for them, and
I-
y'all's choices need to be clear for you.
I have one more request for administration. There's a building on Crestwell that I think we own that sits, I don't know if we looked at, how can we maybe, we have?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can somebody get that to me? I have not seen.
I'll be more than happy to do
Okay.
that.
I think the Juvenile Justice Committee's looked at all of our buildings,
Good
and
Lord.
We have.
for the state standards, it's a little bit different
Right. for
versus
juvenile.
adults, so there's
Right.
issues there.
Well, could you get that information to me, please?
I will.
Thank you.
Now, just wanted to be clear, because the cameras are looking at us, one thing I forgot was, what I was saying a while ago was, we all realize that each and every year, we take $4 million out of our general fund just to help support y'all right now. The big issue is not the ability to build the detention center, but it's the annual operating cost of the estimated $3 to $4 million. Commissioner Johnson?
Okay, you acting like our past president. You're taking everybody's notes.
What?
Okay.
That's
First
a
thing I'd
fine.
like to say.
That's a fine.
Okay. First thing I'd like to say is, you guys have a very hard job, and it's gonna get even harder with the restrictions that we have right now. But I think everyone that's up here and you guys we're on the same page. We want to make sure that Caddo Parish is safe for adults, children, everybody. There's been, many alternatives, ideas thrown out over the time. The first one was like the old CDC, which is Fort Wade now. Thought about that one. We hear about that it's in bad shape and it will cost so much to get it up to speed. And then there's so many other restrictions and guidelines that you got to have. That's one problem. We could send some of those to other parishes that have room. That's kind of hard on the family. If there's a case where, that family needs to be in contact with that juvenile and they don't have the transportation to get to them. So it's major inconvenience on that. The other one is Commissioner Jackson talked about is changing some legislation. Because initially, my thought when I started researching all this is that we had a 48-bed facility and it got reduced down to 24. But what you telling me, we had 29 beds. And so, well, the commissioners at the time built that, I'm quite sure they had to have some type of legal and knowledge of what should be built for this size parish. And at that time, we really hadn't grown that much. And at that time, I also think the 17-year-olds were with the juvenile detention, if I'm not mistaken. So things have changed somewhat. And I know since I've been here, my first impression when I first got elected is that we were spending a whole lot of money for juvenile delinquents and wasn't spending enough money for people, the children that was actually doing something, trying to be productive citizens. But as I've been here and followed a lot of programs, I see why we were spending more money with the juvenile delinquents than we were with the ones who basically know the right things to do. And it's tied into a lot of other things besides that person is going out and doing something wrong. There's a lot of it is dealing with social issues, family issues, mental issues.
Mental health, yeah.
And so that opened my eyes to a lot of that, and I didn't see when I first became elected. We went out for taxes, as Doug said many times, trying to get the citizens of Caddo Parish to help raise the revenue, the millage for the juvenile center, but they've all decided no. And you know, I don't think that coming now and saying that it's a crisis is really going to change much, because if some people feel that it's still not needed, whether it's a crisis or not, still going to fall the same way. We have to come up with some kind of way to change their mindset other than scare tactic, in my belief. Because some people say, well, I'm isolated from that, don't have to deal with that, don't know about that. And so that's a no vote. So we just got to come up with some kind of way to motivate them to vote yes. There's also buildings we talked about, the one with that we got on the agenda today, but then there's schools that's closed that could be converted, in my mind, into some type of detention center as well. We got quite a few schools, elementary schools that's closed, and there are single level floors that we could utilize those. And I think it's going to take a joint effort, not only with the Caddo Commission, but maybe even the Caddo Parish School Board, the Sheriff Department, and City Council, because this is everybody's problem, not just ours. We talked about, I think, Judge Young, you talked about, well, we do have the funds to build some additional ones. We do, but at the same time, it has to be maintained year in and year out. And with some of the numbers I saw to maintain it, I had questions about it. I saw some information today where if you increase it from 48, 24 beds, basically some of the numbers stayed the same for staffing and everything else. My other question was, when it was with 52 students in it, did anybody get laid off when it went from that 48, 52 range down to 24? Or are they working some other aspect of the juvenile center?
There's a lot of attrition, as you can imagine,
Right.
in a correctional program and facility, and most of that was absorbed through attrition at that time. And also, frankly, we were understaffed in terms of national standards and state standards in terms of the number of correctional officers per child. And
Okay.
so all of those things work together to absorb that.
Okay. So basically, we've been in a crisis mode for a very long time. Yes.
That's correct. That was one of my points. We've been limping along because we have supports that are the best in the state that y'all have funded. But this is different. We're talking about adding at least 15 more each night of 17-year-olds, based on the number that are incarcerated now by the sheriff, even as we reduce that number through good decision-making.
So what you just said, 15 more each night, I mean, we'll be over 100.
No, 15 more, and that's going to be a constant number.
Okay, so, okay.
On top
that's
of
little
a
different. Okay.
capacity,
15 beds.
along with a capacity of 24 that we generally run close to full all the time.
Okay. So in your mind, what would be the ideal number of beds to be added?
If you look at the sheet that we have compared to other cities, we have to presume that.
Well, we can't really compare us to other cities, because other cities might not have the type of programs that you have in place.
Agree. We can function, I think, with the plan of adding 3 pods of 8 beds each, we can function well with that.
With additional, so
An
basically.
additional 24, right.
24 beds.
So double the size.
That's correct. That puts us in the mainstream of other juvenile detention centers in the South, and would give us a good functioning system to go along with our best system we already have.
Okay, well, I mean, that's still apples to oranges, because if they don't have the same kind of programs we have to keep the juveniles from being incarcerated, it doesn't matter about the number of beds. If there's another city that's doing the same kind of programs we're doing, and they have a different size number, that's the one I'm more interested in. Not the ones who have no
I would defer to Mr.
program.
Walker on that. He can analyze that properly.
Yeah, I don't want to have any comparison to a city that doesn't have any kind of diversion type programs that they lock up 100%, because that's apples to oranges. So I'll be trying to find out that answer from somebody.
You got it.
You got that answer? Okay, so we got the answer up here. I'll hear a little late on. But, I just want to make sure that, we don't say we got to double the size because we're getting one age group. And so now you got room to do what you want to do. I think we need to make sure that we keep public safety, in front of us, but at the same time, it's gonna cost. And it comes back down to the taxpayer and, how much they're willing to pay into this, because, government only runs upon the tax revenue that come in. Thank you.
Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, let me thank you all for your service. Along with the administration over at Juvenile Detention Center in Caddo Parish, I am very proud. You all have done an amazing job and are known quite naturally as a model center that you are running over there. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for coming here today. I also want to thank you, Judge Young. You started out in the beginning giving the accolades and acknowledging all of the things that we have done successfully, making sure that we have provided any of the things that you all have requested. You mentioned about being policymakers, and I was glad that you did bring that to light, because this legislation that we are discussing today, it is an unfunded mandate that has been passed down to us. So our jobs as legislation is to try to put something else in place and to try and ask for some assistance in whatever means necessary. So for the last 3 years, I can say, when I came in as a committee member, and I have always been there to work with the committee to find out how can we make this mandate work once it becomes effective for this parish. I like the fact that it is all of our goals to not over-incarcerate the juveniles. And I think that everyone is aware of that, otherwise we wouldn't be known as a model detention center. With great team effort, improving the quality of life is all of our jobs as elected officials. And we would never want the citizens to think that we would do anything intentionally to compromise their public safety. I was glad that you also mentioned the 1957 millage that we are talking about, that we're running these facilities on. That facility, running that, cost us a $4 million deficit per year. And when we say doubling the size, some of us around this horseshoe are going to say that that would be just irresponsible to take it and to get an $8 million deficit. With that being said, I have said publicly, I'm neither against asking the public again for it. Would it be a wise thing to do? I'm not sure. We don't know the answer until we ask for it. So if that would be something that we would do, that's yet to be determined. However, I've also learned that increasing that millage would not make that much of a difference when we're talking about the juvenile facility. I like the fact that we're talking about offenders who are nonviolent. That's who we're talking about at this time. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that this challenge, and I have to call it a challenge instead of a crisis, that there are plans of action that we have been progressively putting into place, and they are considerably being made to make this transition as smooth as possible. We do not want you all to have to juggle on any given day of who goes and who stays, but we understand that's what you have been doing. So at some point, I just want to make sure that if panels are the answer, that we could include some a youth council to go along with that. You know, some representatives that would help us to make those decisions that are obviously already out there and abroad. I would say that to end this, I would say this. I would just say that this is a challenge that we will get through together. You've always had our support and you always will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more, Commissioner, and we saved Commissioner Lynn for last.
Judge Casey Reed, it's a pleasure to work with you on this project. Judge Young, Judge Matlock, we've had 10 solid years of alternatives to incarceration. When Doug and Commissioner Dominic, when Commissioner Smith,
You can call me Doug.
and I took office, we were incarcerating 54 children at juvenile reform, at juvenile detention is what we called it then. And in the last 10 years, we've gone from incarcerating 54 to 21 as an average. Now, those numbers don't seem like much, but then you factor in that at the exact same time, simultaneously, we have reduced the re-arrest rate by 82%. That's proof that incarceration doesn't necessarily come out to the result of less crime in our community. With that, I ask that y'all, if y'all will join us today, we have Resolution 21 asking the Office of Juvenile Justice to authorize the Brandon House to house our nonviolent offenders, which this is a 70-bed facility that any help that we can get in the Office of Juvenile Justice, giving y'all the authority to house youth there, will help the whole community. This is a 70-bed facility that would house the nonviolent offenders, and we have access to ankle monitors, and these ankle monitors aren't just ankle monitors. They know exactly where you are, when you're there, when you're at home, when you say you're at home, when you're at school and you say you're at school, if you say you have a job, if you're at that job, if you say you're at church, if you're at that church, and the pathway to get to those locations. This also comes with a probation officer. Right now, our probation officers, as of last year, this year we hired 8 new probation officers. Last year, the probation officers were seeing about 30 youth apiece. Now, when I hear government tell me that we need to spend 15 million or 13 to 15 million on a building, what I hear, by the time that happens, that's going to cost 20 to 25 million. When I hear it's going to cost, 3 million to 4 million to keep it up, I'm thinking, okay, well, it's going to cost 5 or 6 million to keep it up in the real world terms. So we could take that money that we're already anticipating spending, and I'm comfortable with this, that if we could hire more probation officers, so instead of just the 8 more, we could have some more, and apparently there's a large group of people that want to do probation in Caddo because we have such a nationally exemplary system of reform within Caddo Parish, and reduce those numbers from a probation officer overseeing a youth with an ankle monitor from 30 to 15 so that they can do some more one-on-one guidance with them. The largest growing number of children that are incarcerated are female. They are not being incarcerated so much for what they have done, but because they need to be protected from the environment for which they live. There's the Jewel House. Anything that we could do to increase the capacity of the Jewel House, since women, young girls, are the largest growing number, would be great. And so what I would hope that we could do is clear up a pod. And clearing up a pod, I realize that's only 8 beds. If we could, and then with the 16 and the 17-year-olds, I don't know, maybe, and this might be regressive, but possibly double bunking just that one pod with the 16 and the 17-year-olds, that immediately gives us 16 beds. The Brandon House gives us 70 beds. And then there's several other entities for proper placement of these youth, and utilizing the modern technology of ankle monitors and more probation officers, we still have an increased expense, but not the heavy hammer of building another facility to incarcerate and the heavy hammer of making sure that building's kept up. We're dealing with the same staff, and if that did not work, then we could transfer that staff into working in the facility. When we decreased the number of juveniles at Caddo Parish Reform Facility, we took the people that were normally inside the building and we moved them into probation. And so we could do the exact opposite with this. If this didn't work, we could move them from probation inside. And so right now, I think that our principal months are what, April, July, and October, that we really get pushed on for 3 months on incarceration as any judge.
It's not my experience. I'm pushed all the time.
Okay.
Clay kind of has mentioned
Yeah,
some of those.
statistically, over the time, those are the highest bumps, but we're always making the decision, do we lock up this kid because he's violating his probation left and right to try to get him back on track? Or do we let him keep ignoring it?
Sure.
Or do we revoke him and send him to state custody halfway across the state?
Will y'all joining us in writing a letter to Office of Juvenile Justice in support of the Brandon House?
The staff there would have to be enlarged because of the people they would be dealing with. They would have to be trained to deal with that very, very difficult population, and it's a non-secure facility. If I had a child that I thought would work in a non-secure setting, he wouldn't go to detention. So that doesn't address the problem, respectfully, in my view.
I mean, aren't there
Because I'm not locking up kids that don't need secure.
I mean, but aren't there youth right now inside the facility that are there? They just can't go home. They don't listen to their parent, and so we incarcerate them.
Very, very few, and for a very, very short period of time. And that's going to happen even more and more if we don't have the bed space to even do that.
However, those would be an appropriate placement at Brandon House? Would those
Could be with increased staff and better training, right.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you, Commissioner Lynn. Commissioner Middleton?
Thank you. Thank y'all for what you do. It's a tough job. I know it is. Being in law enforcement now for 39 years is tough. Well, this commission's had this coming down the barrel here for almost 2 years now. We've known something needed to be done, but we're good at talking things and we're just not meeting often enough. I think we need to bring this up to the front burner and doing a lot more meeting and getting things done, get some resolves going. Our neighboring parish, they're known for getting things done, not studying it to death, and I think we need to adopt that philosophy somewhat. I'd like to see us do more, not just an occasional, and I'm not taking away from anyone, Juvenile Justice Committee meeting. Let's get this on the front burner and do it every week if we need to, and let's get the action going. If we have to start pouring concrete or whatever, let's just do something and quit having to talk about it. Between this and the Animal Services Committee, these are the two, they're the hot topics at all times, and we have to put our priorities. And the priority is going to have to keep the community safe from both, from these situations. And the judges just need that ability to be able to put them, not necessarily long-term. You don't really do long-term in juvenile detention center. That's a detention center, and it's not where they carry out their sentences, as far as I know. So we need them to have that leverage. Otherwise, I'm going to put you in jail. It's like so many times you tell somebody you're going to do something, but if you don't really have the means to do it, it really makes no difference to anybody. And so I appreciate y'all bringing it up. It's just time for this committee up here to do something. Let's get this on. Quit kicking the can down the road. Let's do something and involve everyone that needs to be involved, from the judges to the probation to the diversion programs. Everyone, let's get it in the DA's office. Let's get everyone involved.
Who is here today, by the way, in support, Wilbur Cryer.
Who's here with the?
Wilbur.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there he is. Good to see you.
And Tyler Johnson with Judge Stewart. Judge Stewart is just coming back today from out of
Right.
town.
I talked to him earlier today.
We are visiting with him regularly and involving.
And that's great. We appreciate that. And that's the way it's got to be. It's multi-pronged type of situation. But I'm just saying, I'm encouraging our people, let's start making some effort to meet more often and do something, and quit kicking the can down the road. Let's just do it. And again, I tell you what, we've got a great chairperson right here, Stormy Gage Watts, and I'm glad to have her there, and I'm glad he didn't put me in charge of that one there. Okay? Put me on the committee, and I'll get on him about that later. But then we just can talk all day here, but I thank you for the time, and thank you all for being up here, and everyone's involved. Let's do something. Thank you.
Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Thank you, sir. I just forgot to mention the chart that we were talking about earlier. I talked to Clay about it earlier this week, and I asked the same question that Commissioner Johnson asked about how can we tell that we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. They do not have a track of recidivism like Caddo Parish does. So that's another proven record that we are always proactive instead of reactive when things come on. So if there's anyone else out there, administration, that could find somewhere that may have this actual information that is factual, please let us know. That's it. Thank you.
I would just like to respond to Commissioner Middleton and say that I don't think we've been kicking this can down the road. We've been meeting consistently. I want the public to understand, we have met, the Juvenile Justice Committee has met and met and met. I've been the chairman for the last couple of years, and I don't think we're kicking this down the road. We made a decision based upon the staff's recommendation, based upon the history of what the taxpayers had voted on. And we had a public hearing, and we've adopted our budget on this, and I don't remember anybody saying, no, y'all don't need to vote on this, we need to do something different. And Commissioner Middleton, you've been on that committee. I mean, we just can't go out and build a $12 million jail without having a mechanism to fund the staff and the probation officers and the security. So, and I'd like to end this conversation if we can. And again, I'm going to come back to what I initially started. We're all in this together, and we've got to be in this together, and we've got to put a good faith effort to hopefully be positive, because some of the issues in the media and things, they try to use like crisis and try to put us against us. I mean, the question I had was, what is the reception going to be? And I said, it's going to be a great reception. And I think it was. I think this is a great dialogue for you to come here, because I think your number one goal, or one of your number one goal, maybe number one, I think your number one is to build a detention center, but number two is to have the public understand what is going to happen, and if this detention center is not going to be built, that there may be some recourses with these individuals being out. I think you've done that, and what Commissioner Judge Matlock said, I commend you for coming out and like you did, and just hopefully we continue to work together. Okay, Judge? Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, Mr. Hopkins, if we can get back on our agenda.
This is Commissioner West, United Way, 211 program.
Now, Ms. West, I hope we don't go as long as we did with the juvenile judges, please.
Mr. President, we have no can to kick anywhere.
No.
My name is Bruce Wilson, and I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of United Way of Northwest Louisiana. 2 years ago, we came before this commission and we presented to you what is known as the ALICE Project Report, standing for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed Individuals in Caddo Parish. We have continued to focus on those individuals, and today we come to you to announce a program that we initiated back on the 15th of November. Quietly, last month we publicly unveiled it, and Ms. Kamisha West, who is on our board of directors, is going to explain that to you. I've also got the brainchild of this program, Dr. Jerome Cox, who serves on our board. This was a passion of his, and I wanted him to enjoy seeing the fruit of it before you. So, Ms. Kamisha.
Thank you all for having us today. As a board member, our job as a part of United Way is to fight to improve the health, education, and financial stability for all citizens living in Northwest Louisiana, while maintaining essential needs for those in crisis or struggling. Along with our mission, we have readopted United Way 211. So what is 211? It is an easy-to-remember number to link people to information relevant to their needs. It is accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even during disasters. We have trained information and referral specialists to help callers navigate the complex maze of human services and community resources. 211 meets the unique needs of callers, including non-English speakers and people with disabilities. It maintains an accurate, up-to-date database for public and community-based resources. Examples of reasons why people use 211: for food assistance, housing assistance, jobs, education, employment help, rent and utility assistance, counseling and rehabilitation, support group programs, transportation, family support, and disaster services. So for the past 4.5 years, Northwest Louisiana region, encompassing more than 525,000 residents, did not have 211. So during this time, nearly 100,000 calls have gone unanswered. Many have been struggling to find resources they need. 100,000. Kind of let that number sink in. That's enough to fill Tiger Stadium at LSU. Utilizing the Alice report in the wake of 2016 flood events last year, hurricanes, United Way Louisiana Board of Directors and myself and staff, we worked hard to bring back 211. During Hurricane Harvey and Maria, United Way assisted over 135 individuals and family who evacuated to Shreveport, many having only clothes on their back. United Way became a go-to resources for immediate service and resources for the community, and 211 did not exist. And so when we relaunched this quietly back in last year of November 15, 2017, we immediately started receiving calls. And so far to date, we've received over 931 calls. A lot of those calls are coming from Shreveport in area codes such as 71106, 71107, 71109, as well as our outlying and parishes, communities such as Keithfield, Oil City, Morningsport, and Vivian. And when they call 211, they're calling for things like food, clothing, shelters. Some of the community agencies that they're calling is the Food Bank, the Salvation Army, Volunteers of America, Catholic Charities, Caddo Community Action Agency. And so we're here today asking for your support for the 211 program. It is vital to our community, and as you've seen, we've had our own disasters, 2015, 2016 floods, where people did not have a call to action. They didn't have a number to call. A lot of you, as commissioners, receive some of those phone calls. And sometimes when people don't have a number to call, they're calling the 911 system, and they're calling the police department. And so 211 is a national program that we have adopted that we had 5 years ago. And that is going to alleviate some of the pressures in the community so people will have a resource number and to have a phone number to call, and we are that agency that is supporting them. And our ask today is that you guys support us in 211.
Thank you very much. Anybody got any questions? Thank y'all for coming. Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn has a question.
I want to thank you guys for coming out this evening. Commissioner Chavez and myself were afforded the opportunity to come over and visit with people at United Way a couple of weeks ago. And what I want to highlight and accent is that there are things that actually go on in this community that you just take for granted. You know, my question was, what is a 211? Is that the same thing as 911? And I was afforded the opportunity to say it's something totally different because it's a mechanism. And I want to also say this, while we were there, we were given an illustration of how the call actually works. So the calls are going to the Monroe office, the person Monroe, and the person called, and then we asked that, like, we needed food, shelter, those sort of things. And the respondent person on the call was very judicious and did a good job of directing us to services right here in the city of Shreveport. And so it's always good to be able to visit something, see how it works, and then I was able to be able to match the need of what it actually does and actually seeing it in practice. So, you know, I would encourage us to seriously take a look at this. And I also want to applaud United Way for taking up the mantle and funding it themselves, even though with restraints in their budget, which is, a situation where we want to take a look at. And I'd really want to applaud them. And so having been afforded to sit in there and have that meeting with them, I got a real good understanding of what this program does, and it's something that's probably vitally needed here in Caddo Parish and Shreveport.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you all.
Guys. And Ms. West, you do a great job.
Thank you.
And our next item,
Miss Lauren Vizza, Miss Louisiana, USA.
Pretty good introduction.
Right.
I'm practicing.
Right, pretty good.
Okay, Steve Horton.
And I also have Stacy with us with Tourism Bureau with me. But I'm here as oh my goodness. We're already ready. The campaign signs, love it. And save those. This is exciting, obviously we're had a major announcement on Monday, and you guys have some important stuff that you're discussing and voting on and considering. And so I'm here a little bit as a resident of the city, but I'm also here as a contestant and as somebody that's been involved in the Miss USA organization for 5 years now. And it's an organization based on diversity, based on an amazing group of women and empowering them to be whatever it is that they want to be. And what is it that you want to get out of this? I mean, just in this class alone, we have members of the military. Miss Maine is in the Army, and she says the most empowered she's ever felt is when she's competing and when she's on stage, and that's why she did this. And our current Miss USA, we jokingly, but she's a rocket scientist, and she's all about STEM and STEAM and truly working for the government at a time. And so our teen even graduated high school early to go to law school, to go to college early to end up in law school. And so when you're talking about some of the best and the brightest and people in their states and in their communities, promoting everything positive and good and being those encouraging role models to know that they're all going to be coming here to our area and showing off the best and the brightest that Shreveport-Bossier has to offer, that Caddo Parish, that North Louisiana has, and kind of partnering that in the spotlight. It's not just on us, the contestants, but it's on our area as well, and what can we offer that's so great and wonderful. It's definitely something that's so important and so needed right now, especially for women in the area. And so I'm here as the product of the program, of the organization. It's more than just a pageant, for sure.
okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Chavez, you have anything?
I think, Ms. Brown, you wanted to speak as well. I know we have on the agenda a little farther down appropriations to help this endeavor. And I know the economic development or the impact that this is going to make is significant. And I know you have some facts on that.
Yes, the pageants provide a significant direct economic impact with the money that they spend on bringing the pageant here. So when they come, they have a significant number of hotel rooms for their staff, for their crew, for the contestants, for the talent. Then the media will also be coming in, friends and family. But those extras are not included in the spend of the pageant itself. So during the pageant, they will spend about $4.5 to $5 million. Just the pageant, not including the friends and family and media that will be coming here to support the pageant. So that's direct dollars into our economy. Obviously, that provides taxes, that provides jobs and other opportunities for students as interns, and opportunities to get them out into the hospitals, getting them to the schools, encouraging children to be interested in the STEM programs, and really building our quality of life. In addition to all of that, if that's not enough, there's also the media value this proposes for our community. So the Miss Teen USA will be shown on Reels television, and the Miss USA competition will be shown on Fox Television Live. That will be broadcast additionally to 70 countries across the world. And then on top of that is the social media value. Each of the contestants has social media pages that they post to daily. So they will be constantly talking about the places that they're going to eat, the attractions that they're visiting, the great community programs that they're learning about. So it's really an opportunity for Shreveport, Bossier, Caddo, and Bossier parishes to shine and to show the world what we have to offer, why we're a great place to not only visit, but also to work and to live.
And we're also unique this year because we don't just bring in, normally Miss and Teen pageants are separate. And so you have 51 Miss contestants and their families. This time we have 102 contestants. And if every one of them brings a small family group, that's huge for us. And they're here in a significant period of time. They're not just here Saturday, Sunday. With a Miss pageant being on a Monday, you're guaranteed that people are staying a long weekend. With a teen pageant earlier in the week, people are going to come in that are dedicated, loyal followers and fans. So it's a significant, huge impact that we're getting. We're honestly kind of special for our area. That's like a unique, huge bonus that we'll get to see.
I appreciate you guys for coming down here, and I wanted to touch on that because we saw a lot of negativity, and I was surprised about that. So thank you for your time and really clarifying how big of an impact this is going to make for Shreveport and Caddo Parish.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, thank you, and I'm excited about the opportunity for Shreveport and Caddo Parish to be on national display. I just wanted to have y'all had an opportunity to read the parish charter, and would y'all be interested at some point soon to read it with me? It's not a trick question.
I have not read it. No, I have not.
Would you be interested in reading it with me one day?
I could.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
You probably could do it about 2 o'clock in the morning.
And this those nights when I'm waking up in the middle of the night, that's
I had one of the clerks tell me she saw me on TV about 2 o'clock one morning. She said she was having back issues. I said, you were watching this because you were having a hard time going to sleep.
We look forward to having the pageant. Thank you.
Commissioner Bowman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to reiterate the big impact, not just economically that this will have, but having us, Shreveport, Caddo, and Bossier on a global scale, not just our states, but we got 70 countries that'll be a part of this, and I just think it's so positive and so good that I also want to congratulate you, as I've always have, Miss Stacy, and of course, Miss Louisiana. We're rooting for you all the way, and so we know you're going to do well. You already represent, and we get to see your bubbly face every morning because you're so great. So it's going to be a great time, and I just thank everybody's efforts, and even Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, who y'all may mix up as a contestant. All right. But it's going to be great, and I just thank you. It's a good time, and I thank you, President, for this opportunity.
And Commissioner Atkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Stacey, I want to thank you for your leadership here in pushing this project through. I think it'll be a great economic development tool for the area. I think every shop owner, hotel manager, store attendant, waitress, and waiter will benefit from this activity. So thank you for your leadership there, and we're so pleased to have a local citizen participating this year. Thank you.
And Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Miss Louisiana. Thank you, Miss Stacy, for coming down today just to reiterate the fact that this is more than a pageant. I think that is very important to say. I couldn't even begin to imagine who would have anything negative to say. Then I thought, we're talking about Shreveport. Of course someone would find something negative. But that's okay because we build off of that. And we're so glad to be able to welcome 102 contestants to our parish, to the city of Shreveport, to Caddo Parish, to the state of Louisiana. I would like to personally thank our Economic Development Chair, Commissioner Atkins, and our President, Commissioner Doug Dominic, for entrusting me and giving me this assignment to go out and hang out with all of these beautiful women and making plans and preparations and keeping the biggest secret that I've had to keep in a very long time, that we were even being looked at to come here. And I never heard anything negative over the last 2 years when Las Vegas got all of this good publicity, advertisements. I can only think about one person carrying 8 million followers, and they're going to be talking about Shreveport, Caddo Parish. I mean, we could become the destination location that we've been dreaming of for quite some time. So we are excited that you're going to be visiting schools, and that's going to put that educational empowerment as well as the impact that you will have on children's lives, not just women, but children's lives, to see something that they may never see again. And hopefully this could be a start to a great thing for us, and that this will be continual, and that we will be like we were 20 years ago, back to back. But thank you again. Thank you because this is a win for everyone. This is not just about one pageant. This is not about just the parish, not about the city or the state, but this is for everyone. So thank you for everything that you've done to make it thus far. We're excited, we're energized, and we can't wait to May 21st. Is that the day? To see this pageant take off. Thank you.
And I would just say, briefly, and first of all, thanks Miss Louisiana Lauren for being here today. We always love you coming, but Stacy, I just wanted to say some stuff that John said. You got a hard job, and this is such a big event. I hope everybody in our area realizes the impact and what this is going to do to our community, and continue to work hard. And Lauren, keep supporting us, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. And one of the things we did was on our website put up a page for it's www.shreveport-bossier.com/MissUSA, and gave people the opportunity to sign up to be a volunteer or to do sponsorships and tell us how they would like their business to be involved. So it's just unbelievable the amount of phone calls and people signing up through the website that we're getting, people in the community that are just so excited about this opportunity, and to have something so positive come. The community is really embracing.
And before you get out here, you called me about the sign issue. Have you talked to anybody? Has that got taken care of?
Yes.
Okay, so
We're
that
doing
worked
good.
out for you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're good to go.
I'll be calling you to set up that charter reading.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Hopkins, next item, please.
Next, we move to special resolutions. Special resolution recognition to Woody's Home for Veterans.
Okay, Commissioner Middleton, do we have anybody here?
Yes.
Okay. If everybody can rise, we'll have the reading of the resolution, please.
Mike, President, may I say a word?
He's going to read the resolution first.
Okay, I just want to thank you anyway,
Oh,
put me
yeah,
behind Miss Louisiana.
You'll have time. You'll have time.
Okay. By the name and the authority of the Caddo Parish Commission, resolution of recognition to Woody's Home for Veterans.
Hold on.
We will partner with Caddo Coffee and Supplies. If it works.
Okay. Whereas the Caddo Parish Commission desires to give appropriate recognition to those men and women of Caddo Parish who serve the community on a daily basis, and in doing so, reflect favorably and positively upon themselves, their families, and all the citizens of this parish. And whereas Woody's Home for Veterans has provided a stable home for veterans with mental illness since August 2003, and whereas, according to Veterans Administration, approximately 23% of the homeless population are veterans, leaving 107,000 veterans homeless on any given night. 76% of these veterans experience alcohol, drug, or mental health problems. And whereas Woody's Home provides a safe haven for veterans who can interact with one another, feel safe, and continue to receive the care they need. And whereas over the course of almost 15 years, Woody's Home has provided approximately 256,960 meals, 51,392 nights of lodging, and 202,648 employee hours in service to veterans. Woody's Home also gives veterans the opportunity to receive counseling and medicine management. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission meeting in legal and regular session this 26th day of March 2018, that it does hereby extend its most sincere expressions of appreciation and commendation to Woody's Home for Veterans for their service and dedication displayed in making Caddo Parish a better place to live, work, and play for our veterans. Signed, Caddo Parish Commission.
Everybody can have a seat this time.
Commissioners, this is Dr. Ron Keyes. He's the executive director and the one who started Woody's Home for Veterans. So would you like to make a few statements there?
First of all, if I ever,
Just step back.
okay,
Hold on to that.
if I ever get to do this again, do not put me behind Miss Louisiana, USA, please. Because the attention's gone. For the active veterans up here, thank you for your service. Those behind me that have served, that have families served, thank you. I put a pamphlet out that I hope will not get thrown away that reflects some of these things. All I want for you is your love, your support, and your prayers. I've got Scott Harkey here, who's on our board, Cheryl, who's a volunteer. We do not know how much the crisis is or how bad the crisis is. And it's our problem. It's our streets that they're sleeping on. It's our drugs that they're taking. And most people who come here, we're the last house on the block. It's either VA institutionalized or it's sleeping under the bridge or suicide. So if I ever submit anything to you or any veterans organization, vet us, check us out, make sure we're right. But consider us, because everyone's life has been touched by a veteran, whether you are one or you're a parent, uncle, whatever it was. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for this. This is very, very, very kind.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Keys.
They will be one of the people that's on the Give for Good in May. So if you can give a contribution to Woody's home, it'd be great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keys. Thank you. I would like to show that the motion to accept that resolution was made by Commissioner Middleton and seconded by Commissioner Chavez, and that will be accepted by acclamation. Okay? And now we'll go on to our next resolution.
Next resolution, special recognition and appreciation to Caddo Coffee and Supplies.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that motion is made by Commissioner Chavez, and seconded by Commissioner Jackson, and that will also be accepted by acclamation. Is anybody here?
No, no representative, so Commissioner Jackson, I will go there to read it. Yes.
To their place of business? Okay.
It will be reflected in the minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much. And moving on to our next item.
Adopt the regular session.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Please vote.
That's an accident.
All right. Is it voted on? That's an accident. Commissioner Jackson's not supposed to be on the board.
Mr. Middleton's out of the room.
Okay, that passes. Moving to our next item.
Public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases. Ordinance number 5754 of 2018 in regards to zoning case P1-18. Amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended. Caddo Parish Uniform Development Code by amending the zoning property located 1,818 feet south of Pine Hill Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R-MHP Residential Manufactured Home Park District to R15 Single Family Residential District.
Okay, we'll have a public hearing at this time. I think that's the one that they were wanting to speak.
That is correct.
Okay, anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance, I think y'all want to speak against it, I'm assuming. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of ordinance number 5754? If so, please come forward at this time. Okay, I have no one speaking in favor. Now, anybody who wishes to speak against this ordinance number 5754, if you please could give us your name. And you do have a time limit on this, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank God. Good afternoon. My name is Charlotte Urey. Sorry, I live at 7832 Singleton Road.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Charlotte Urey,
Okay.
U-R-I-E. 7832 Singleton Road. The street that I live on is going to be directly and mainly and objectively affected by this zoning change. Been here several times. To my knowledge, not one single resident in our neighborhood has stated that they wanted the zone change or even property development plan that was presented to us. On the contrary, all have been against it, listing concerns of water, sewage, and safety issues. No protest against this issue before you today has made a difference for us as the residents that's going to be directly affected by this in our community. I feel we haven't been heard or properly represented. There's an issue of a little bit of false information that you guys were giving. I don't know if it was this committee or another one, But the water and flooding and sewage backup issues are a great concern as far as public safety and health. As far as putting 14 houses on 2 acres of land, if y'all would just simply think about that for a moment in your minds. 14 units on 2 acres of land. We had it reduced to 12. The deal was, oh, we'll take 2 off and we'll just put 12 in and we'll fix your ditches and we'll do this and we'll do that. It was misinformed by someone that those things were taken care of. No, wrong, they were not. I understand that I live in a flood zone, and I know that Mother Nature is going to do what she's going to do. I know that I have to dig a ditch to redirect the water that's flooding my land and the Williamses and the Halls all the way down to Singleton Road to make it go into the city ditches that were promised to be dug out and cleaned out and repaired, which they weren't. I have written authority to speak for myself, my husband, the Williamses, the Rodriguezes, the Richards, and the Millers. We are all the property owners on Singleton Road that this is going to mainly affect. We have a small, no lane, 1 lane, in and out of this mobile home villa that's across the street from us who live and are private landowners across the street. The man who wants to build this, he's the landowner. All of that I really think is going to be a problem on down the line. We have a lot of children, small children, that play. We have the elderly that go out and check their mail. My neighbor is 95 years old, and I can't imagine any more stress added to our small community than we already have. We have enough problems, and of course we'd like to see them fixed. And in closing, I'd just like to reiterate again that no landowner or resident that this is going to directly affect has been in agreement with this proposition whatsoever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
And yes, sir, you're next, sir. If you can give us your name and address, or name, sorry, we don't need to.
William Hall,
yes,
5617 Brandon Road,
Okay, Mr. Hall.
71107 Shreveport.
Go ahead.
What I have got here is I have a problem with the sewage and the water. I am on a cul-de-sac road. A cul-de-sac road is 1 way in and 1 way out. And it's not for an 18-inch sewer line to come into my property on a cul-de-sac road. I get the sewage from up on the Pine Hill Road. I get the water from the Pine Hill Road. To save 10 or 15 feet of culvert, the parish run the culvert into my cul-de-sac in my 8 feet at the end of the road. And that's where all the water from the trailer park and all the sewage come to is down to mine. I give Mr. Johnson some pictures, I believe, that maybe he passed them around or didn't, but I give him some pictures of some of the sewage and stuff as that was accumulating in the ditch. Now, on the 10th and the 15th, I got sewage for 4 days. And now, Tim Weaver told me, we had kind of a conversation. It wasn't a real friendly one, but we had a conversation and it finally settled down. And he was going to give me the Golden Pass way down there on the end of the road. And my culvert still hadn't been cleaned out, and they cleaned out every culvert on the road but mine. They pressure washed it and all and dug around the culvert and everything. And if you look at that picture, I had about 12 inches of buildup in that culvert that blocked the water and stuff, and after the sewage run 4 days, I still had 4 or 5 days of sewage in that culvert and was backed up. And now, I don't know how, whenever you put in a trailer park or something, you're supposed to have some right-of-way and some water ways to get rid of your water, not through somebody else's property. So it all has to come out of the trailer park the way they got it set up now. And it goes and runs in front of my house in a ditch, or it'll run over my driveway when it rains real hard, and it runs down my driveway through my garage and everything else. And it's nothing but a mess. That's what it is. And Mr. Weaver said he was going to take care of all that, but I hadn't seen him yet. And I don't know. Anyhow, We've got barking dogs, about 15 of them at the end of the road, the Terry's property. That's right up a bit against the fence where he's going to put his trailer house, and dogs bark 24 hours a day. I don't know how they can bark anymore, but they will if you stir them up. And every time a car comes in or something, the dogs is barking. We've got 10 dogs there, and over in the trailer house, we've got 3 dogs tied up on the chain running around the tree that barks all the time. So you can't get no sleep at night for the dogs barking. But we've got a water problem and got a sewage problem. And they said the water problem and the sewage problem would be fixed before anything was done in that trailer park as far as adding houses and, they're talking about modular homes or something they're putting on. I don't know what it is. But anyhow, it will take, what he needs to do is put him a holding pit up there, about 100 feet by 200 feet, and get him some vacuum trucks and let his sewage go in the tank and pump it out and haul it to the disposal. That's what he needs to do. But he's not going to spend no money. All he's going to do is dump it on somebody else. But the next time the sewage gets in the ditch, I'm going to block the cupboard up and back the sewage up in under his trailer houses, and I'm going to call the EPA. They told me to call them, and they would come out and take tests and everything. I called them on that 10 and 15, let's see, I believe it was 10, 15, and 17. I called him, but I didn't call him while the sewage was in the ditch. So he says, whenever it does, he says, call me, and he says, I will be there. And he says, I'll take care of it. So that's about all I got to say. But she gets water from the trailer park, I get water. You've got 12 acres there. And by the time you've got, let's see, 60, I think you've got 63 or 65 trailers on it now, and he's wanting to put another 12 houses down there. And when you concrete everything down there, all you got's a river. That's what you got whenever you put concrete down. You don't have no ground to absorb the water.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
I appreciate you. I
You're welcome.
enjoyed it. This is about my 5th time down here.
I know, we'll remember you. Thank you.
Maybe I hope this finishes.
Okay. There's no one else to speak in favor or against this ordinance at this time. The public hearing for ordinance number 5754 is closed. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Ordinance number 5755 of 2018 regards the zoning case P318 to amend Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, Caddo Parish Uniform Development Code by amending zoning of property located on the north side of Market Street, northwest of Devereaux Road, intersection, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R17 Single Family Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District.
At this time, I declare the public hearing for ordinance number 5755 open. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anybody who wishes to speak against this ordinance? Seeing no one to speak in favor or against this ordinance, the public hearing on ordinance number 5755 is hereby closed. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that closes public hearings. We move to public hearing on ordinances.
Okay.
Ordinance number 5756, an ordinance declaring certain adjudicated properties to be surplus, authorize the parish administrator or designee to sell the parish of Caddo's tax interest in certain surplus adjudicated property.
Declare ordinance number, public hearing for ordinance number 5756 open at this time. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of ordinance number 5756? I see no one who wishes to speak in favor. Is there anybody who wishes to speak against ordinance number 5756? I see no one speaking against ordinance number 5756. The public hearing on ordinance number 5756 is hereby closed. Moving to our next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next we move to zoning ordinances for final passage.
So move for adoption.
Okay, ordinance number 5754 has been moved for adoption by Commissioner Jackson. Do I have a?
I would withdraw mine. I'm sorry.
Am I wrong? Okay.
I thought I was on there.
Okay, does anybody have a motion on ordinance number 57, I guess it's 5754?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
I got it, yeah.
Commissioner Lyndon Johnson?
Yeah, I move to postpone this for 30 days, and if I get a second, I can.
I will second it. Second. Okay, so the motion's been made by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson to postpone ordinance number 5754. It's been seconded by the chair. If you wish to briefly explain that, that'll be great.
Yes, I actually met with the residents of Brandon, not once, but twice.
Yes, we've gone through it twice.
Went to and met with you guys twice. at the.
I can't hardly hear you.
He said he's met with you at
Met
least a
with you
couple
all.
times.
Right. Second time, it was myself, Tim Weaver, and someone from the North Camp that went out there. We basically had the elevations of the whole area and was trying to explain to some of the residents that a lot of the flooding issue is not because of the trailer park, but because of the elevation of land. And as that water runs down from Pine Hill down into the neighborhood, it accumulates and flows pretty fast. But one thing that Tim and the guy from North Camp was talking about was actually doing something with the drainage. And so that work hasn't been done, to my understanding. And so that was one of the things that had to be done first before we can put some additional trailers, that they will feel comfortable about putting some additional homes in that area. So we need to close our end first before we can actually move forward with this. Some of the issues that they did talk about are outside of the scope of the actual ordinance, but it's still problems that they have on their streets of Singleton and Brandon. And we just need to make sure that we address those. The sewer district actually went in and did some upgrades to the pumps in that area, but based on the heavy rain that we had on that date, 10-something, still didn't keep up with the flow of sewage that we had. And so I need to get back with them to make sure that they can address that issue of taking care of making sure that we don't have sewage going on our grounds. So if I get 30 days extension, then I can kind of work with Public Works and the sewer district to make sure that they have their things in place before it comes back to us to vote on.
Okay. Mr. Glass, is Mr. Weaver going to get this guy's culvert cleaned out?
It's more than that. It's more than
Y'all going to take care of him?
Yes.
Please do.
Okay. Doug, it's more than just cleaning out a culvert. It's actually
Well, whatever it is,
installing
you
something.
know, we need to help this fellow out, okay? So, hang on, you're done. I'm sorry. So let's vote at this time. The motion to extend this till, I guess it's
It'll be the April 19th regular session.
April 19th regular session meeting. So, Mr. Hill, you may have to come back. I'm sorry, but it's being continued till what?
April 19th.
April 19th if we vote on this. Please vote.
They would.
Mr. Hill, that passes. Going to be back on April 19th. Hopefully, the Public Works Department is going to take care of you, okay?
I hope so.
All right, have a good day.
I'll get a lot of sewage.
Would that be 3 p.m., sir?
3:30 is when we start.
3:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
See y'all then.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Ordinance number 5755 of 2018
Move for
regards
adoption.
zoning case.
Second. Okay, this is another one in your district. Commissioner Lyndon Johnson moves for adoption of ordinance number 5755. It is seconded by Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn. I'm sorry. I am really sorry. Please vote.
I'm not going to wish that on anybody.
That's good.
And that passes 12-0. And we will move on to our next item.
Ordinance for final passage, ordinance number 5756.
So move for adoption.
That's been moved by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Matthew Lynn for adoption 5756. Please vote.
It's Commissioner Bowman.
It was Commissioner Bowman. Why are you giving all
Trying to
these
go
people
too
all this
fast.
good
Slow
luck?
down, man. Slow down.
That's a fine. You can't talk to the president like that.
That's right.
Okay, so the motion was made by, help me out,
Jackson.
Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Bowman.
That's correct.
Please vote.
Did Jackson have something to say?
I don't know what that is.
And that passes 12-0. Moving on to our next item.
Zoning ordinances for introduction, zoning case P218 regards to ordinance number 5757 of 2018. Amending the zoning property located on the east side of Linwood Avenue, 260 feet north of Buckley Boulevard, from R17 Single Family Residential District to C1 Plan Unit Development Neighborhood Commercial District with Planned Unit Development.
Where we at?
Zoning case P518 in regards to ordinance number 5758, amending zoning of property located on the south side of East Flournoy Lucas, 850 feet east of First Street, from R17 Single Family Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District.
Okay.
Ordinance. That was zoning ordinances. Now we move to ordinances for introduction. Ordinance 5759, amending Article 3 of Chapter 19, the Code of Ordinances, relative to E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund. Ordinance number 5760 of 2018, ordinance amending the budget of estimate revenues and expenditures for the General Fund and the Economic Development Fund to provide an appropriation of $50,000 for the Miss USA pageant. Ordinance number 5761 of 2018, to close and abandon Golf Ridge Drive. Ordinance number 5762, to close and abandon a road dedication located in Simpson Acres, Unit Number 2. Ordinance number 5763, an ordinance to accept the streets in Southern Loop Circle into the Parish of Caddo road system. Ordinance number 5764, an ordinance to deem property surplus and authorize the sale of surplus property owned by the Parish of Caddo. Next, we need to ratify the minutes.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to ratify the work session minutes of March 19, 2018. And I believe it was seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Can you please vote? Okay, Commissioner Chavez has not stepped out, so that will pass 11-0. And moving on to our next item.
Resolutions. Resolution 13, ordering calling a special election to be held in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, to authorize renewal of special tax hearing and making application to the state.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson and second by Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn to adopt resolution number 13. Is that, am I right?
Yes.
That's correct.
Are you on the board? Commissioner Jackson?
I'd like to make a substitute motion to englobe and adopt resolution number 13, resolution number 14, resolution number 15, resolution number 16, and resolution number 20.
Okay, so we got a motion, substitute motion by Commissioner Jackson for resolution 13, 14, 15, 16.
And 20.
You ain't like 19?
And 19 and 20.
I like to keep 13 by itself.
19 is the banking, and where's resolution, excuse me.
You just sit there. No.
Okay, wow.
You want to keep 13?
I'm missing one.
I'd like to make 13 separate.
I withdraw that.
All right, so it's resolution number,
No, I withdraw.
you withdrew your motion? Okay, so we're voting on
13.
resolution 13. Please vote. I don't know.
13?
I just couldn't find it. Okay, that passes 10-2. Please vote, please.
All right. Resolution number 14, submitted to Governor John Bell Edwards, named for the appointment for membership on the Red River Waterway
So
Commission.
moved.
President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 14, 15, 16, 19, and 20.
Okay, so 14, Governor
14,
John Bell Edwards,
right.
15, urging,
16,
requesting governor.
19, and 20.
Okay, 16, and which one?
19 and 20.
19, opposing, and 20?
Yes.
Okay, have a substitute motion by Commissioner Jackson. I think it was seconded by Commissioner Matthew Lynn. 14, 15, 16, 19, and 20. Okay, global and adopt.
Global and adopt.
Commissioner Atkins?
I'd like to respectfully request that we have a modified motion to englobo and adopt resolutions 14 and 15 and 16, leaving 19 and 20 out of the englobo.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, please vote on Commissioner.
Wait, who was the second?
Yep, that was made by Commissioner Atkins, seconded by Commissioner Middleton. And it was,
To englobo 14, 15, 16 only,
yeah.
Correct.
and approved.
14, 15, and 16 only. Please vote.
Say don't include it. Next time, it just help if you say don't include them.
Okay, that passes 10-2. Moving on to our next item.
Now we move to resolution number 19 of 2018, opposing pre-filed House Bill 190.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, that's been made by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Do we have any discussion on that?
Yeah, we do have ADA and here that you might want to give us some
Good
more
afternoon,
insight.
Mr. Dominic.
Yes, sir.
I'm Tommy Johnson. I'm with the Caddo Parish District Attorney's Office. I'm here this afternoon to speak on behalf of adopting the resolution to oppose House Bill 190. This House bill cuts out Caddo and Bossier parishes from a legislation that was
Motion
enacted.
to suspend the rules to allow him to talk.
Second.
Okay, I apologize for
Okay,
that.
hang on one second. What he brought him up.
I brought him up. So.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that we could do that at this time. Thank you.
We did it last 2 years.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, anyway, the legislation enacted in 1995 allowed for the creation of a victim assistance program as well as a diversion program in district attorney's offices throughout the state, and it called for the program to be self-funded through the collection of fees from the diversion program. And the DA's office in Caddo Parish has been operating under that, and with the enactment of this legislation, it would dramatically affect the financial resources that would become available through our self-funding, which we would then have to turn to the parish or the taxpayers in order to continue these programs. The program on diversion is for first-time offenders. It's a selective program. It's a voluntary program. It's a program which requires a strenuous program for people to enter into. There's public service involved. It's a year-long, and approximately 40 to 50% of the people enrolled do not finish, and they go back through the criminal justice system. That's just to give you an idea of what the program's about. It significantly helps in regards to the Victims Assistance Program, which is needed. Oftentimes, victims don't have a voice, and they need to hear and know who they can talk to. And we see people every day, and in the most recent aspect of it, we've expanded it to include domestic violence, and we have a special person that now handles only domestic violence programs. We have a pamphlet that we pass out that I would like to just pass around to each of you to look at. This is what the diversion program is about. It's available to each member of the public. This program, which is self-funded through the users of the program, funds for four full-time permanent employees, and 7, it supplements the employment of those individuals for a total of 11 employees in our office. And also, with the enactment of this legislation, it would impair the ability of the district attorney to function in regards to his discretionary authority as granted by the Constitution in regards to what cases to prosecute and what not to. Without the program, they are just going to go through the criminal justice system. And there's certainly people that are first-time offenders that don't need they don't need a criminal record. You have young people coming through, you get a criminal record, and these day and times, for colleges, for employers and such, many people in that category, if you start all of a sudden start having a criminal record, you're automatically excluded from employment.
It's true.
It's a good program, and it offers a real rehabilitation effort through this program, depending upon the crime and such. And it also provides that there's some restitution avenues for victims who have lost funding and such. And as far as misdemeanor traffic tickets, those fines are still collected and directed to the sheriff's office through the program. So we don't take any fees out of those fines.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Commissioner Linda Johnson, you still have the floor. Do you have anything else?
No, I just wanted to make sure that he can kind of help clear up some
Okay.
of the information that's in the resolution.
You want to stand up, or Commissioner Lynn? Do you have any questions? Or
No, that was previous.
Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Lewis Johnson, you're on the board?
Yeah, I have one question. And was this bill for Caddo and Bossier only?
Yes.
Really?
The other 64 parishes will not be affected.
Thank you very much.
62 parishes.
Yeah.
Just two
The
parishes.
remaining 62.
Okay. All right, I see no one else on the, Commissioner Jackson?
Quick question. Is there a position, has the District Attorneys Association taken a position on this?
They're opposing the bill.
They're opposing it. What
Yes,
about
sir.
the Sheriff's Association?
They're not taking a position on the bill, I don't believe.
Have any other Sheriff's Association? None?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do we know what the Sheriff and how the District Attorney in Bossier feels about it?
He opposes the legislation.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Middleton?
At this point, I'm probably abstain. Is there any opposition to this?
Not that I know of. To the resolution?
Yeah.
No, to 190.
I don't.
Yeah, well.
I think he's
We're voting
confused.
on, yes. Good point, Stephen, thank you. To 190, is there any opposition locally by the clerk's office, the sheriff's office?
No. The clerk of court does not support House Bill 190. The public defender's office in Caddo Parish does not support House Bill 190. And the judges.
Yes, is there any opposition to the bill?
Oh, well, the House bill, they're not supporting it, so they're in effect abstaining or opposing it. There's nobody that I know who is supporting the bill.
And I just don't have enough information. This was so new to me the other day, but I know it has to be timely because legislature's meeting now, so I want to abstain for that reason. I just said, I don't have enough information.
We're supposed to vote.
You got to vote.
Yeah. I
I'm
don't
going
think.
to vote to abstain.
Okay. All right, please vote.
For clarity's sake, a yes vote is to oppose it. Is that correct?
If you
To
vote,
approve this resolution.
you need to vote at this time to approve this resolution, which will actually be opposing House Bill 190.
Thank you.
Okay? If you're for opposing, please vote yes. If you vote, or you want to vote no. Okay? I have 8 for, I have 2 that voted against it, and 2 abstained.
It's still bad.
Do we have to give
Please.
reasons to abstain from voting?
Yeah.
Mr. Frazier, do you have to give reasons for abstaining?
Yes.
He gave a reason.
Commissioner Middleton did. I did not hear from Commissioner Smith.
Commissioner Smith, you want to give a reason for your abstaining?
Just don't agree with it. So
Okay.
It'll be a no vote.
Vote no then. Okay. All right. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
So point of order or clarification, that's not going to be any legality with that by him saying I disagree. That technically is a no vote. I mean, how does that work?
You can't, there doesn't have, he just has to give a reason. It doesn't have to be a reason.
That we feel justified, but his reasons.
What he said.
Well, I'm just asking
Right.
because we live in an age where folks can come sue and stop the resolution from being effective. So.
That should not affect it.
Okay. That's it for me.
Next, we move to resolution number 20, resolution authorizing parish administrator to retain special legal counsel.
So moved.
Second.
All right, no discussion. This is on the opioid. We've talked about this, so please vote. This will be John Young's group. Okay, next item.
Resolution number 21, resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana Office of Juvenile Justice to give favorable consideration to the application of LL Brandon III Transitional Home.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Matthew Lynn, seconded by, help me out, I didn't hear. Commissioner Bowman. No discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chavez? What's going on?
I need to vote for this.
21.
20. It's for
The addition.
on Matthew Lynn's,
Don't you remember this, Matthew, today?
Brandon.
It's not on the agenda, it was an addition.
Oh, okay.
Of one
Okay.
Bishop
You have,
Brandon's
you have a
house.
page in front of you.
I know,
He got it, he just
I
didn't
was
say it.
confused looking at the agenda, like, what are you guys looking at?
Okay, that passes 12-0. Next item.
We have no old business, we move to new business. Confirm clerk of the commission to schedule parliamentary procedure training.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by the chair. I'll say seconded by Commissioner John Atkins. Please vote.
Oh,
There's somebody on the board.
Okay. Commissioner Matthew Lynn.
Motion to englobo and adopt confirmation of Lakeview Waterworks District, Mr. Lawrence Anderson, confirmation of appointment of Pine Hill Waterworks District, Mr. Homer Norris, confirmation of appointment Sewer District Number 2, Mr. Craig Watson, confirmation of appointment Animal Services Board, Sarah Walton, confirmation of appointment Banking and Development Task Force, Mr. Mark Evans, confirmation of appointment of Banking and Development Task Force, Ms. Tracy Graham.
Second.
That's it.
Well, you skipped one.
Oh,
There was an appointment of Ms. Mary Talent too as well. There's two on Lakeview.
Okay, he wants to englobo
I would like
all of
to add,
those.
I would like to add that one also. Thank you
Okay.
for
So
that.
basically, to make a
correction.
motion to englobo the remaining items on new business, if I'm correct, okay? Commissioner Johnson, you want to speak?
No.
Okay, let's go. Vote.
I have a question.
second?
That was made by Commissioner Matthew Lynn and seconded by
Jackson.
Commissioner Jackson.
Okay, thank you.
We have one on the
Still got one on the board.
I don't have anybody on board.
Lewis was on the board.
Lewis, you need to speak?
I have one question.
Sure.
As it relates to the appointment for Animal Services Board, is there only one position, one open position?
No.
That's
There's
more than
several
one.
appointments available.
Thank you, sir.
All right, please vote. Okay, that passes 12-0. Next item.
Next, we move to Communication Committee reports. I've got a notice to read. A notice is hereby given that at its meeting to be held Thursday, May 3rd, 2018, at 3:30 p.m., Government Plaza, 505 Travis Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, the Caddo Parish Commission plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in Caddo Parish to authorize the rededication of a sales and use tax in Sales District Number 1 of the Parish of Caddo.
Okay.
Also, at this time, I'd like to wish Miss Nations happy birthday from yesterday. So
Happy birthday!
She was at work
we
yesterday
don't talk about
also.
her age because she's a young lady. We don't talk about their age.
Is this the time where I sing, Mr. President? No. Okay, not that time.
Okay.
I'll take, what's that, what's the presidential privilege? No.
Okay.
Administration response from requests from the commission.
We have none at this time, sir.
Okay, next item.
Commissioners.
Anybody have a communication committee report?
A quick question,
I
sir.
got one thing.
Okay, get on the board. Let's see, Vice President Lynn Cawthorn.
Yes, I just put this in front of all of the fellow commissioners. This right here is from the National Association from County Officials and the League of National League of Cities. And this kind of lays out what people are doing nationally as it relates to the opioid legislation, where the suit's been filed some of the recovery. So I know at our last meeting, some people didn't have a full grasp of what was going on as related to the legislation nationwide, but this right here gives you a lot of insight into how it developed, how it's progressing, and et cetera. Thanks.
Commissioner Atkins?
Just a calendaring issue. Mr. Clerk, did I see, somewhere I thought I'd seen a Natural Resources Subcommittee meeting. I thought it was today, after this meeting. Am I mistaken in that?
April 2nd after that work session.
April 2nd?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
And Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. I just wanted to thank Tim Weaver publicly. I had a constituent call with a laundry list of issues, and Tim actually showed up with me. We got in his truck, and he drove the citizen around to different locations to see the different problems in the neighborhood. So I thought that was very big of Tim. I don't see him out here, but if somebody's around, just let him know he's awesome. Thanks, Randy.
He's always on that culvert out for that.
Yeah, probably needs to go take care of a culvert.
Yeah, he needs to go take care of his hill.
That's
Paul.
President.
Paul. Paul?
Mr. Hall.
Paul, that's right. Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts?
Thank you, sir. I would like to announce that there will be a Juvenile Justice Committee meeting on April 2nd at 2 p.m. Todd, is that available?
I'm gonna have to check.
Okay.
I believe we have someone want a 1:30 was talked about. I think so.
Will you confirm by email?
I'll let
with the
everybody know
committee members?
tomorrow. How
Yeah,
about
let us
that?
know, please.
Thank you. And at 2:00 p.m. I did say that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just want to say thank you to administration for the signs that are lighting the way to the Northwest Louisiana Veterans Cemetery. They look really nice. So proud of Caddo Parish to come in and see things that other states and parishes are doing is a very positive thing that I just wanted to acknowledge you all about going up there. And it would really look nice to see those 5 branches of military services up underneath those signs.
It's a beautiful place out there.
It is. Speaking of that, there will be an event that will be held on the 28th at the Northwest Louisiana Cemetery in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. If you want more information about that, you can call the Northwest Louisiana Veterans Cemetery to get the time.
What's the date again,
The
Commissioner?
28th of March. Also, I would just like to say publicly thank you to Shreveport City Councilwoman Stephanie Lynch for honoring women, elected women officials at the City Council meeting on last week. It is National Women's Month. We celebrated National Women's Day and also the month. So to all of the women out there who are working twice as hard as the men, I say hello, congratulations, and thank you for all that you do. That's it. Thank you.
All right, women.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm a Gerald.
Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to make an announcement that there's a group that's being formed called Caddo Connect. It's to start a discussion around Wi-Fi, broadband. We had a little bit of discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the discussion today in committee with regard to small cell towers. They'll be meeting at Cohab on March 27th at 5:30. There's a national organization that'll be in town, and it's to start talking about how can we partner with ISPs as local government. As you know, Louisiana is very restrictive with what municipalities can do with Wi-Fi and internet access, but there are ways in which you can partner to provide access, affordability options out there. And so that group will meet on March 27th at Cohab. There's also a Leaders Against Litter press conference this Friday. I think, I'm not sure, 9 o'clock, at 9 o'clock at the State Fair Museum. Also want to remind everybody, I hadn't seen anything that went in yet, but I was reminded at the Master Plan Subcommittee today that intergovernmental meeting will be coming up, and I hadn't seen us submit anything yet, so if we could get those in. I know if administration, if we could look at discussing the juvenile issue, and I don't want to get ahead of what the Juvenile Service Committee will do, but look at discussing the juvenile issue or at least have a report on it or something at that intergovernmental meeting.
It's already a request for it on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry on there.
Also want to get with legal. I know that we would do a report on the police cars in February and had not. I don't know if we received that report or when are we going to receive it. And also, it's kind of gone silent, but haven't received a report. I'm not sure if we do a quarterly report yet on the status out there at GM at the plant. Everything has just kind of been quiet. I'm not saying anybody's dropped any ball, but I want to make sure that we get that report. Another report, it's been quite a while since we've had NLEP down to give us an update sort of on the pipeline activities, what's going on, if we could get that for our next meeting. And again, it's not to be in anybody's business, it's just, or not that anybody is not doing anything, just haven't heard anything about it. Thanks, Tim. We're postponing the cleanup in Cherokee Park to do a greater partnership with Shreveport Green and Clean Up America, Beautify America, that day that they're having in April. So we're going to work a little bit hand in hand with them. And also just want to convey, want to thank Henry for working on several of these ordinances. I know some things kind of get dropped through the cracks. I know we send a lot of stuff over. I want to continue to encourage us. If we have things that we would like to discuss or issues, please reach out. The issue, I talked to Dr. Wilson before he got on his plane. I didn't know about the census tract issue. It seemed like there was some different conversations going on, separate and apart from what I had been working on. If I know these things, I don't mind working with anybody on them. Just have to know that they're being worked on. I send my information over if that information can be done in return. So I appreciate everything y'all do. Thank you.
What time on the 27th at the Cohab?
5:30, and it's open. It's an open conversation. These will be national consultants who are coming in. Well, they're going to do a webinar first, and then I think a couple weeks later they'll come in, physically come in. And we're partnering with AT&T, Cricket, and I believe Comcast. So.
Okay, next item, Mr. Clerk.
President's report.
Just a couple things. I'm trying to move it on. Had a busy month this month in working with the Stacy Brown, the issue concerning Miss USA and the teen, and I just again wanted to reach out and think that it's. I guess I'm gonna brag on myself being a good leader that you appoint good people. You can't go. That it just shows you a good collaboration between myself and Commissioner Atkins and Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to kind of all double team, triple team on that to get that done. And appreciate all y'all's help, especially with Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Also, she and I have been working on the juvenile justice, and we'll continue to do that. We did have meetings before, and as everybody knows, we did meet with the judges, and hopefully we can move forward with that. And I did want to, you touched on this, to remind everybody, I spoke to Donna Curtis yesterday and just remind once again the Leaders Against Litter. I know Commissioner Middleton, you're going to be there tomorrow at 9 o'clock at the Louisiana State Museum to talk about the litter issues. So those issues are coming up, and if there's no further ado, I'm done, and hopefully we can, do we have no further citizen comments?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Amen.
No, right on the regular.